with over 100,000 coaches, with all of the social media, places that I've been able to spend a lot of quality time. I know that when I'm able to share authentically, it has a reverberation effect. It's a ripple. And so it's not just what I'm saying, but it's how it impacts other people. I feel a responsibility as an ally
Mm.
to be a vocal ally. Like just making sure people are aware that this is happening because a lot of people are just completely oblivious because it doesn't directly affect them. So that people know my whole story, not just the story
Mm.
about my advocacy, but actually that I have a transgender daughter. That
I've known for a very long time that I was trans, even before I came out. It's something that I was aware of even as a younger child, even if I didn't know how that took shape or really how to act on it. Not caring what anyone think and just seeing how much fun he had, I started doing the same, and that translated to everything. Yes, I'm a trans woman, but there's so much more to me than just the surface level of being trans. Is this just a trend? Is this just something that's
Mm.
popular nowadays?
Love
And
it. Welcome back to our show, Empower Your Life with Cindy Marie. This show is not just about bringing you incredible guests. This show is also about helping you reconnect with your true power, your authentic voice. In today's episode, it's super extra special as we dive into a story filled with love, courage, authenticity, and adventure. I'm joined by an inspiring father and daughter duo. So let me introduce you first with the father. He's a seasoned leader, coach, and advocate with over 30 years of marketing experience, including building the first commercial websites for brands like AT&T and Mastercard. As the chief coaching officer at Positive Intelligence, he has supported over 100,000 coaches globally while also championing transgender rights as the proud father of his transgender daughter. He is also known for his inspirational leadership and his mission to create breakthroughs for himself and others through storytelling, coaching, and advocacy. Now, let me introduce his incredible daughter. She's a high school senior graduating in June this year and preparing for an exciting year long global journey with her father. She's the president of her school's Gay Straight Alliance, or GSA, and will debut as a keynote speaker at Google headquarters in Dublin, Ireland on 4th of July this year as well. Exciting. Her journey reflects courage, leadership, and a deep commitment to advocacy and authenticity. Together, they're going to embark on an extraordinary project, traveling to 52 cities around the world, which we're going to cover that later on. So let's all welcome and give a warm welcome to Bill and Violet Carmody. Bill, Violet, thank you so much for being here and welcome to our show.
thank you for
Yay!
having us.
Thank you, Cindy. That was such a great introduction. Violet, was that the
Awesome.
first time you were introduced as your opening keynote speech in
Woo!
Google Ireland?
Yes.
That was intense. That was a lot more than I was expecting. So thank you.
You're most welcome. So, this is the moment for all of us to hear your story, Violet. I watch and learn or listen from your father's one of his interviews. Basically, he shared at that moment where you came out or opened that side of your story with your grandfather while
Mhm.
playing pool. So, could you bring us back or walk us through that experience? I mean, I'm super curious. Did you already know at a younger age that side of your or journey? If so, how did you process that? And, making a decision to share that at that moment, not only with your father, but also with your grandfather. And how does it feel before and after sharing that with your family? Share with us your story.
Okay, so I've known for a very long time that I was trans, even before I came out. It's something that I was aware of even as a younger child, even if I didn't know how that took shape or really how to act on it. So
Mm.
one of the ways I would express that is through characters. Like, I like playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, where you make characters and you play them in a world of fantasy. And I always enjoyed experimenting with gender because it was something I wanted to look into more and something I enjoyed expressing.
Mm.
And eventually, I started being with more people who were open with their identities and more clear as to who they were. So once I had spent time with them, I realized more of what I saw myself as and who I am as a person. And I guess in the moment of when I came out, it was just, I was waiting for a time to do it. And my grandfather made a sexist joke, and I just jumped on it. And it worked really well. Everyone took it a lot better than I was expecting, especially because of the way I had said it and done it. I feel like my family life hasn't changed all that much. I think my parents are still just as loving. They weren't very affected by it. They're just incredible people. My brother is still as close to me as he ever was, if not more. And I have had such a supportive journey with the people around me.
Beautiful. And is there anything that you want to add on that, Bill?
Just, I love hearing, Violet, from your perspective. It's really great. I've had an opportunity to share once or twice with other podcasters about specifically my experience in that moment. And what I will share is what you didn't experience from me was the oh shit moment, which was like, as you said what you said, I'm like, how is my dad gonna react? Like, here's this guy who watches like racist movies and all these things. I'm like, right? Just holding on for that moment. And the way he handled it was so polished and professional. It was like, oh my God. It's like it's like he was an ally in training as long as I'd been. And it's just like amazing. And the fact that that was everything that I had, those were all expectations that I turned out to be in my own head. He was so much he was like fully present for the moment. He was proud. He was excited. I remember his response saying specifically that I wasn't there for your birth, but I feel like I'm here for some sort of a rebirth, like something else. It's like really authentically you. And he was so proud of you sharing. And it was not at all what I was expecting my dad to say. So it was just like, and then, oh, wait, I'm going to be here too. So worried about what he was going to say, you know? It's great.
Yeah, he actually took it, I think, one of the best I've ever had when I was telling people. He was just so supportive, and he didn't have like a second of flinching or drawback, and he was just immediately helping me and being with me and respecting everything that I wanted to change. And even when I asked him to like slow it down because it was a lot to do all of a sudden, I wanted to take it back a little bit, he was also open with that and was ready for me to change whenever, which was the best thing for me at the time.
Yeah. I love you mentioned that it was a lot to process. And I remember, Bill, for many people who know you, an amazing entrepreneur, a co-founder of Positive Intelligence, a leader and a coach. You have inspired many people in the field that you do. And with this situation, I come to learn that you managed to process it easier than your wife. And so I'm super curious, how did you navigate balancing that while having a sense of peace of mind? Because you yourself, you're also processing it. And then you give yourself another space for your wife to process at her own pace. And then merging as a parent to give assurance for your daughter to have a supporting system that she's okay on processing that. I think it's very important for us to talk about it because there's so many people out there, especially parents or whoever involved in this similar journey or experiences, unsure on handling their emotions and even supporting at the same time their child on this going through.
This and Violet, I'm loving for you to be able to hear it from my perspective, and I would really love yours. I think this is a great thing for us to be able to share because in the moment that you shared your truth, my first reaction wasn't for me, it was for my father. I was like, well, how is he going to react? That was the first thing, because I was already prejudging him, like, this isn't not going to go well. I'm gonna have a lot of cleanup to do, okay? And of course I was completely wrong. I'm like, woo, phew, okay, great. And then I was like, oh, wait, I haven't said anything. I need to jump in, right? So there was that whole part of it. And then, when I can't even remember, was it you or I told mom? I don't remember who said what first. Was it you? Do you remember?
So that night at dinner, I think you or grandfather asked me again, and I said it in front of like the whole table.
Yes.
So that's when she learned.
And in that moment, Elena had what I would consider to be a more typical response for someone who's not done any allyship or training, someone who's just like, oh my God, like there's what's happening right now? And it was a processing for her to be able to really mourn the loss of someone that she'd known in the ways that she'd known all those years. And that this was the thing, was that I had to be able to both support Violet in this very tender moment where she's being vulnerable and sharing
Yeah.
exactly her experience, and my wife, who's like, wait a second, I didn't see this coming, what's going on right now, and like trying to process what this was. And Violet, what I share to folks in the past, I've said, the thing that's really hard to understand when you're not a parent is that as a parent, Elena was very, very sure that she had like dodged a very scary bullet, which is by having two genders that are the same, the two male genders. At that
Mhm.
time, it was like less likely to have problems with being attacked or raped or murdered or all those things that happens, because we know that women are just much more likely to be attacked. And I think one of the things that she suddenly was like, oh God, that fear that I just put in a closet, like I don't have to worry about that anymore, is suddenly back in her face. And so like all of these emotions that are very complex, both in terms of what's happening for my daughter, what's happening for me, what's happening for all those fears that I didn't think I had. Now I'm then maybe have to be more concerned or more worried. And then thinking about, she's very, very up on all of the politics, knowing exactly what was going on with transgender rights. I mean, she was ahead of me in all of these things, going, oh my God, this is a scary time. Suddenly, all these issues that I didn't think I had to worry about, I'm now being faced with. And so for her, it was a very emotional time, and she broke down and she cried. And I remember, Violet, that really had an impact on you, because it was like, wait, what's going on? Why is my mom not reacting exactly the same way my dad and my
Yeah.
grandfathers reacted? There's a very different reaction. Do you want to speak
Mhm.
about that experience, Violet?
Yeah, I think what I want to say first is I'm actually surprised she didn't see it coming more than what actually happened, because many times when I was younger, she asked me if I was gay because I liked jewelry and feminine things and a lot of the stuff that she was wearing. And she just assumed that's what it was. But I don't know why she never made the connection that maybe it was trends or some other queer thing. So I didn't think it would be as much of a shock to her. I thought she had more of a clue than everyone else. But when I told her, she didn't really like look at me for a few days, and she was like
Oh.
crying for so long. And that
Mhm.
hurt deeply because I thought that like she was rejecting who I was when no one else had. And she was kind of the last person I thought would do that. And
Mhm.
she later said how she was just scared of me being hurt because people attack what they don't understand. But
Mhm.
it was just the way in which she kind of broke herself off from me during that short time just
Mhm.
really scared me.
Oh, and one thing when I heard you guys sharing the part of the Elena, the wife, and your mother in this case, I think we women, we intuitively know about it. I think many women tend to ignore until that fact will be said as a testament that, yes, this is me, mom. And that broke down all of a sudden, like, oh my God, I've known this for all the time in my life. And I have to process it now, truly. I think I think for me, I mean, I'm sharing this story of my life when I told to myself, and Bill knows about it before, I have to get out first because my family don't understand how to get out and express who you are being. And I've been living in a societal pressure that I have to work and all of this about money, all of this fame, attention, and power. And I said, that's just not me, but they don't understand me. And the fact that they don't understand me, it's also feeling like a rejection. But over time, because of the spiritual growth, because of the personal development, the coaching, I realized that that's the way how they process. Unfortunately, fortunately, we have to give them grace that at this moment they have to go through on their own to understand what all those narrative and then release that. That's not true anymore. This is the truth, and we have to embrace that. And moving to the next question that I believe is so important for all of us is living authentically. And this is where we all come about, right? And both of you have an incredible journey of living authentically. So I'm super curious and would love to both of you to share your thoughts. what is really being authentically yourself mean? Let's start with you, Bill, because you are also not only a father, a coach, but also an advocate for very long for transgender rights. And I think expressing that authentically or living authentically would be something very scary at the same time. And do you really think it's important to express this authenticity in this world we're living?
Yeah, I do. I do. And I think part of it is there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one is that I am fortunate enough to have a platform, not just a voice. Everyone has a voice. Some of us are lucky enough to have a platform. And so when as I have continued to develop the relationships, as you said, with over 100,000 coaches, with all of the social media, places that I've been able to spend a lot of quality time, I know that when I'm able to share authentically, it has a reverberation effect. It's a ripple. And so it's not just what I'm saying, but it's how it impacts other people and then encouraging others to speak their truth. And so what
Mm,
happens is it starts to create, this whole wave of emotion and support that, what I'm doing is I'm essentially starting the conversation that gets carried on long after I've stopped speaking. There's a lot of other people still talking, and I love that, right? And so I think that part of me is that I feel a responsibility as an ally
mm,
to be a vocal ally, and it's not just to be able to do things in the moment, which is the first thing that I started looking at. It's like, how can I make a difference, in the moment? Then it became
mm,
more of a, well, wait a minute, how can I actually affect the change that I want to see? And so a lot of
mm,
what I started doing was looking at like just magnifying the reports on just the number of anti-legislation around transgender rights, like just making sure people are aware that this is happening, because a lot of people are just completely oblivious because it doesn't directly affect them. And so
yes.
ultimately, that's the problem, is that they will, I don't pay attention to things that don't affect me directly, and yet they will affect everybody
Mm,
eventually. So it's like stopping this while it's happening in the early stages is a lot easier than down the road. And so
mm,
again, I think what's really helped for as a lot of my gay friends have really jumped in on this because they saw just how difficult it was to get gay marriage passed in the early stages,
mm,
realizing all the anti-legislation that went against gay marriage and seeing all of the similarities to anti-transgender. But it's even more risky because not being allowed to be who you are is even different than the right to marry, right? So they're seeing just how incredibly important all of these conversations are, and they're jumping in and being very supportive. So I think that's what I love about, from my perspective. And the
mhm,
authenticity comes from that place of, it mattered to me before I learned that Violet was transgender. I was already an ally in training. I was already supporting gay rights and transgender rights. But once it became clear that now this is my entire future, like this is my child and my child's rights, it just doubled down, tripled down on the things that I was already doing, and just saying, look, I just need to step up into a different place so that people know my whole story, not just the story
mm,
about my advocacy, but actually that I have a transgender daughter. That was
mm.
important, to be able to make sure people know why this is so critically important in all of these changes and how they affect me as well as my daughter.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing it. What about you, Violet?
In terms of authenticity, I think I'm a lot different from what you were saying because yes, I'm a trans woman. Obviously, we've talked about that. But there's so much more to me than just the surface level of being trans, that a lot of my authenticity doesn't
Mm,
come from gender. It's just what I enjoy doing, how I enjoy being. When I stop caring what people think or who's watching and I just do, that is my authenticity. When
mm.
I can just be free to be who I am, I forget about all of the gender and all of the issues I'm facing in the world because it doesn't matter anymore. There is way more to see than just the surface level.
You
And
go, girl.
yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. Cindy, I want to underline one thing that I actually meant to say, and I'm glad Violet brought it up, which is the idea of what used to drive me is what other people think. I spent a lot of
Mhm,
time
mhm.
worrying about what other people think. For Violet to get that at such a young age is so impressive to me, because
Yes.
ultimately, like, I spent decades caring about what other people think, and that drove a lot of my own pain and suffering. And what makes me so proud and happy for Violet is the fact that she gets this now. What is that going to be like when she's 30 or 50?
Yeah.
It's like this is like only the beginning of her incredible journey, and I'm just so proud to be able to witness that at such an early age.
Yes, that's what I'm about to say as well. At your early age, you have that brave courage. And I think you also, we must say that probably you have the safe space, safe environment that allowed you to be open up at younger age. Because I have a story that I had interviewed. Her name is actually Wendy Cole. She's a transgender, and she actually expressed her authenticity at the age of what, 67. Can you imagine? So it was 19 something, 1950s, 60s or something. So it wasn't welcome. It took her so long to suppress and repress that. And she got married. Can you imagine that? But her wife at that time knew already. So she was very transparent, and just a lot of restrictions, just a lot of rules and regulation that you can't go out like this and like that. So I so much full of encouragement and support on what you do, Violet, because there's so many young ladies, teens out there that may be so confused of how they can able to express that, especially for many parents. And I would say this, that we cannot blame our parents too, because they have so many traumas on their own journey as well. So when we took that maturity and being the grown-up person, even though at your age, we have to understand, unfortunately. And that's what we've all been doing here on our journey together in expressing authenticity. And authenticity doesn't mean that we're going to be welcomed by everybody, but it's only the community that resonated with us. And like what Bill said, we have really big responsibilities. It's not a privilege. It's actually a really huge responsibility to bring out to people that awareness, why it's important to be authentic. Because, and I'm not saying this word loosely, it's really important because our true power is within us. And when you mention, Violet, what you do, you just express what you love to do. That's exactly the power. Because if you are restricted by the pressure of the society, you're just constantly breaking it down into pieces of who you are not. And, this is also the purpose of having this conversation, not just only bringing awareness of those people in transition, because transitions can be a lot of topics that we could break it down. But then that will be another episode that we could cover, right? And so moving on to this conversation about facing hard conversations together. I want to start with you, Violet, because I could imagine there are a lot of questions or misconceptions about the journey that you're going through, that we could address some of it. And I'm very curious, would there be any particular question that stand out? I don't know when would that be happen, but you felt like, oh my God, that's really hard question, but you felt the conviction to address it and with confidence. Do you remember what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few questions, but I think the one that I heard the most from older generations was, is this just a trend? Is this just something that's popular nowadays?
Love
And
that.
to that I say, no, not at all. This has always been a thing, but as our media becomes more accepting of it, as society changes around it for better or worse, people are more aware. And with that, more people are able to come out and be themselves. This isn't just something that's randomly started happening. This has always been happening since there have been people.
Cindy, I got the same question a lot, especially when I started to share that I'm the father of a trans child. That was one of the things that came up from a lot of other parents who said, my child is also transgender. Do you think this is just a phase? Is it a trend? Is this just something that the kids are doing now because it's popular? And just like Violet said, it's like what I had to help people understand is just how much of a challenge that anyone who is transgender is going to face in their lifetime, and understand, like, if this were a choice, would you choose this? Would you choose the more difficult path? Would you choose to have your rights being questioned in the government and the state government and the federal government? Would you choose to be picked on and bullied? Would you choose? And so you look at all of these things that are likely going to happen to anyone who is transgender and say, if this truly were just a phase, Do you really think someone would step into that as a choice? This is the reality of the person you're speaking to. This is their truth, and it's only through that authenticity of being themselves that they can
Mm.
all of the challenges that they will have to face in their lifetime. There's no part of this that's a choice. None. It is just who they are. And if you don't trust that, then you really have to look inside about not allowing you to see the truth of their experience. And that just turns it around, right? Anytime you point a finger, there's four other fingers pointing back at you. So I remind people about that and say, like, what is your part in this? What is your understanding or unwillingness to see the truth of the existence of the person that's right in front of you?
And you both right. That question, actually, I even asked that with this lady that I have interviewed. Is it something that you got influenced by your surroundings just because they are who they are? Especially in my country, Philippines, we are very, exposed with this, and many of us actually accept in the face of, screen, but many parents not really embracing that. And some people would say it's just a trend. Now people have this platform to express as who they are, but really, are they really being real as who they are? And I think it's very important that we cover that. And at the same time, while listening to both of you as expressing our authenticity, our authentic self, I'm super curious to hear what are your thoughts about safe space. What does safe space mean to both of you? And how does it look like? Because I believe that many we might have that expression that yes, we can express it, but how safe are we to express that? So could you share both of your thoughts? Let's start with you, Bill.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I think one of the things that when someone says having a safe space, it is really for me understanding that the earlier part of our discussion that Violet brought up first, which is what other people think of me is none of my business, and it starts there for me. That like the only thing is I choose to share for multiple reasons. One reason I choose to share is for advocacy. Another reason I choose to share is for awareness. But ultimately, when it's down to a one-on-one level, I am selective on what I choose to share based on the other person that I'm speaking to. And what I mean by that specifically is there are people that I feel that I could share anything and it would be in a space of love and kindness. And then I
Mm,
see there's other people who are so walled off and they're so closed-minded that it's not worth it for me to be able to try to convince them anything. And so, like,
mhm,
unless there's a specific reason for me to step into that conversation, maybe there is a risk or a danger, or there's about to be a fight or something along those lines. There might be reasons why I might intervene. But generally speaking, when I see someone who's truly closed-minded and has expressed themselves, like I believe them when they say they're not ready to hear any of this stuff. So it's like I don't have to try to convince them. And so part of that safe space is for me creating the boundaries that I need in order to be
mm,
safe myself, but also to protect the people that I'm with.
mhm. And for you, Violet?
I think a lot of what a safe space is somewhere where you can be vulnerable and honest about who you are without any backlash on that. Even if
Mhm,
people aren't comfortable with it, it can still be a safe space if you are able to just talk and have that be received without the kind of feedback that you don't really need. And a safe space can
mhm,
be almost anywhere if it's the right people. So
mhm.
you can be free to express yourself in a more open area just as long as you trust the people you're with.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of practices and experiences to be able to, like what's Bill said, the boundaries.
Mhm.
Because as we meet a lot of people, and I have experienced this because one of the things that I do believe is sharing your vulnerability to create that safe space. However, there are some people that will use that against you. And so you've got to experience that, but at the same time, never stop of being kind and vulnerable at the same time, because yes, through vulnerability and honesty, you're opening yourself for intentional and meaningful connection with people, don't you think?
Yeah. And Cindy, the whole thing about someone using my vulnerability against me, it speaks more about them than it does me.
Yes.
And so what I have found is that I used to try to defend that, and I realized that I didn't need to. And so
Yes.
part of this process is, okay, let them go out there and say what they need to say. Again, go back to that earlier statement of what other people think about me is none of my business. And so if I can stay true to that philosophy, that understanding, then, the truth will find its way forward. And so if somebody wants to try to use my vulnerability against me, that says so much more about them than it does about me. And so I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to defend it. And that's that sort of release and that letting go. And that has been so freeing when I started to really understand the power of not caring what other people think.
I love that. And Violet, did you learn at early stage to handle your emotions so powerfully?
If we're talking about like during my transition, no, not at all. I was defensive with a lot of things and just wanted people to get it immediately because it was something that I thought was just not that hard. I've been doing it for so long. But I think gradually over time, the more people made mistakes, the more I started to just accept it and understand that it's not coming from a place of harm or malintent. So
Mm-hmm.
even if people are fucking it up a lot, it happens. It's just part of the process. And I honestly did not stop. Like I did not start. Nope. Words.
You okay?
When I stopped caring what people think about me is when I started to dance, and I mean that very seriously. When I saw my dad going out there and just not caring what anyone think and just seeing how much fun he had, I started doing the same, and that translated to everything. But there was a long period of sensitivity to all kinds of mistakes or errors that people might make, even if they don't mean to be doing that, even if it's not something that they're trying to be an issue with.
Cindy,
Mm.
when Violet says that, she's not saying metaphorically. She's taking actual dancing, like crazy dancing. Because what Violet would witness from a very young age is that I love to dance, and the thing about it is that I don't dance to everyone else's beat, right? So I have my own way of dancing, and it oftentimes becomes a little bit more showy. And I don't mean it from a place of exhibition,
Yeah.
but it often becomes in that way because I'm having so much fun. And the point is that I feed off the energy of the people that I'm dancing with. And so we start playing and having fun and a good time. And not only did Violet witness that, but I remember specifically asked me, like, how do you do that, Dad? Like, how do you go out there and just be who you are? Because I feel so feeling like I'm worried about what other people are thinking. Like, that was a real conversation the two of us had. And I said, Violet, that's the point, right? It's like, this is a freedom. It's like when you stop caring what other people think about you on the dance floor, it changes you, not just on the dance floor, off the dance floor. Like it changes you always. And something about that conversation, Violet like immediately took to heart and did it. Like this was I remember the moment this happened. This was at a retreat that we were on, a weekend retreat. And she stepped into her own loving, beautiful dance, not worrying about everybody else and what they thought. And it was incredible. It was amazing. And suddenly everybody was patting her on the back and giving her high fives and complimenting her. It's like, wow, you and your father, whoa. And that was it. And now then Violet got to go to, I don't remember which school dance it was. You could tell the story about your school dance where you did the exact same thing and didn't stop dancing for something like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
At my junior prom, I had just decided that I just want to dance. That's what I do. It's what I like doing. So I was the
Uh-huh.
first person to go out there and just break the ice. I dragged some of my friends along with me later to like get people started, but it ended up being like I was dancing the whole time with just all of my energy, just putting everything into that night because I might as well. And I ended up making it a place where people could also come and be crazy and have
Mm.
that be not something they're judged for. And
Mhm.
many times that night, circles were just formed because people would just see what I was doing and people would jump in and jump out. And it became more of an open space for everyone just
Yeah.
because I stopped caring. It was great.
I love it. You guys reminding me when I love to dance as well. And exactly how you describe. I usually the one, being asked, just go there because you're usually the one who started it. I said, okay, because I love to dance. And just like you, I don't give I don't give
Yeah.
a care because it's something that, drives you more energy. And then I love to pull people. And then again, like what you said, Violet, you started a big circle. And some of it, when I was doing my DJing, I remember the restaurant manager asked me, "Can you go to these Tuesdays and Thursdays just to grab more people for our show?" I'm like, or for our events. I'm like, okay. I mean, that was the time when I was younger that I still loved to drink and, have fun. It's not that I don't have fun now. I still have fun and I still go crazy dancing on my own. I feel so amazing during that time. And I love both of you encourage and especially you, Bill, giving really a great example for Violet to live life really because we many of us, and I love you both mentioned about that curiosity. Violet asked, how did you do that? Because that curiosity brings so much creativity.
Completely.
Yes. So now let's lighten up a little bit since we are starting all of these energetic vibes. Let's talk about staying optimistic. Violet, I'm super, super curious. What are those practical tools, resources, or practices that you have been doing, embodying, and living that you could share with us that you've been doing for the last, years or whatever, that you believe will help people that going through transitioning, whatever transition means for them, and also having that self doubt. And what will be your practical tools to share with them to stay optimistic and move forward and living the life that we truly deserve and want in life?
I think the most interesting thing is that for transition periods, it's less about the transition itself and more about the people and the connections and how
Mm.
you're able to interact. So if you are transitioning, then I would focus on things besides the transition because that will help you become more comfortable and confident. And like we had mentioned before, that conversation I had with my dad was probably the most powerful one I've had in my life. And that
Mm.
changed everything about my outlook. Things that are outside of just who you are as a person, but more of what you do and what you love, bringing those into who you are always going to be a part of you. And being able
Mhm.
to learn from other people and seeing what they do is a great way to see what you want to do for yourself.
Beautiful.
And can I follow up with that question? Do
Mhm.
you believe that Keep On Asking will be a great place to keep on learning as well? Don't be afraid to ask.
Oh, yeah. And I think that goes like any direction. I think that if a space is had where you can ask questions, ask questions. It is perfectly okay to say something like, I don't mean to offend, I just don't know how to like ask this, or questions that you think could be an issue. But if you want to ask them and you get that right space, educate yourself. I'm
Mm.
more than willing to talk to people about these things if they don't know what we're talking about or like
Mm.
why I am the way that I am, and I am happy to have those conversations. But even as like myself, I still ask these questions to other people because there are always more experienced people, there are always people who have just gone through different things. So
Mhm.
just because I'm trans doesn't make me an expert on this. I've had my own experience, but it's still good to talk to other people about it because I'm not
Mm.
the only trans person.
I love it. I love it. And for you, Bill, the last time I have this conversation with you, you mentioned that you choose to be an optimist. And I believe for the last years, there's so many things that change with you physically, especially, and of course, with a lot of projects as well. So I'm super curious, would there be any particular recently that you have embedded in your practical routines to keep you stay optimistic? And what would that be?
So, the most recent thing since the last time we spoke is I'm always like Violet. I'm always looking for ways to continuously grow. And the thing that I came across was Brendan Burchard's morning ritual of Meds RX, and that stands for meditation, exercise, diet, sleep, relationships, and the X factor. Those six things. And the reason I share that is because I found that this is what helps me stay focused and present every
Mm-hmm.
morning. When I get up and I do 20 minutes of meditation, I'm able to clear my mind and really be full focused and present in the moment. When I exercise, I'm getting my physical body, my heart rate up. When I'm eating the right foods, I have higher levels of energy. When
Yes.
I'm going to sleep consistently at 10 o'clock at night, I am well rested in the morning and I tend to get up earlier.
Mm.
I really focus on my relationships. That's the thing that gives me the most joy and pleasure out of life. And the X factor is whatever else I'm working on, whether that's building another business, whether that's helping someone else, whatever that X factor is, there's always going to be something that's not those five things. And as long as I can keep that in mind, is at this moment, this is what I'm working on. The X factor right now is our world tour. When Violet and I are going to go travel the world, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that X factor to make sure we are ready for our journey.
Which just nice transition to talk about the world travel project, exploring 52 cities together. And the first thing that came to mind is like, how did you even come to that project? And I'm super curious as well. What were the intentions behind doing that exploration? So anyone can start.
Sure. Do you want me to go, Violet, or do you want to start?
Yeah, you were the one who brought up the idea in the first place, so I feel like
Okay.
that makes sense too.
So I'm a big advocate of the concept of a gap year. When someone finishes
Mhm.
high school, I don't want them to go directly into college, not just for my kids, but for all youth. I want people to have a break. They've been going to school since as far as they can remember, kindergarten, right, all the way through 12th grade. And the idea there is, what would you do if you had a year off that you could just do whatever you want to do and just experience and live life the best way possible? And my
Mhm.
son Will, he wanted to work. So he went and worked. He tried out various different careers. He worked for a friend of mine who had a jewelry store. He worked at Target. He did a bunch of just jobs. So we could say,
Mhm.
what is it like to actually, like, I'm going to college so that I can get a career. What is that going to be like? Let me give you a little sample of this. And what is it like to have my own money and be able to spend it on my own thing? And that was great. And when I sat down with Violet, I asked the same thing. I said, look, I really do want you to do a gap year. You don't have to, but I highly recommend it. And lots of options. You could do what Will did with work, or we could travel, or you could do like anything except for sitting in front of your computer playing video games all day. That's the only thing I don't want. Outside, I know. I took that one off the table, but everything else is on the table. And so Violet like sat with it, and when she asked, he said, "Well, when you say travel around the world, like what does that really mean? What does it look like?" And so her curiosity got us to a place where we literally
Mhm.
came down to the basement and went to my map that's on my wall, and I said, "Here is the world, right? As
Oh.
we know it. Let's figure out, where do you want to go in that world, and where do you want to spend your time?" And that's how it began. Yeah.
And what about you, Violet? When you listened to your dad's project or idea and you came across to that curiosity, what does travel across the world mean? I mean, you guys pick the places. I mean, how did you guys even pick the places? Where that be the research or someone recommended to you? What do you think, Violet?
Part of it was just places we'd heard about and some places that like my dad has already been that he loved and wanted to recommend. So there were our bucket list. We could just check all of those off that we wanted to go through and still have plenty of time to spare. So the next thing was people that we have relations with, maybe travelers, just other people that have
Yeah.
been to places that recommended things for us that were more niche or things we wouldn't have thought about because they're not as
Mhm.
mainstream in our culture. And then it moved on to just researching places we wanted to go, things near us, things we should see. And it eventually turned into a whole map that still scares me, but I'm very excited for it.
What
Yes.
scares you, Violet? What scares
Yeah.
you?
What scares you?
I am dropping everything about what I know and where I am in my life to go travel the world. That is more change than I have ever been through all at once. I am finishing up high school and I'm just letting that go and moving to everywhere. It's going to be so much fun, but it
Mhm.
is probably the most overwhelming thing that's
I
ever going
see.
to happen in my life.
Well, just chill, Violet. You're gonna be awesome. You're gonna meet a lot of people. Food is gonna be awesome.
Oh
The
yeah.
experience with the culture, and yeah, I understand the overwhelming, but you're in a great place. I'm
Yeah.
super excited for that.
We'll make sure we watch that movie again, Violet. Everything, everywhere, all at once. It'll be
That's what
fun.
we're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And sorry, go on,
No,
Bill.
I was just gonna say, and one of the things that I wanted to make sure is, I've had this privilege of working with thousands and thousands of coaches over the last 6 years.
Yes.
So I built on billcarmody.com, I put up the whole travel plans, and I said,
Yes.
coaching community said, look, do you want to hang out? Do you want to host a meal? Do you want to host a slumber party? Do you want to get
Yeah.
together to do a VIP day? What is it? And so the idea is when people come to the website, they're like, oh, I live there. I've know Bill from either the positive intelligence framework or we've had conversations for whatever reason. I would love to be able to meet up in these
Yeah.
places. And that has just been amazing because we have so much of our travel. We're going to be connecting with either people we've worked with in the past or friends we don't know yet, like people that we literally have only seen virtually on Zoom calls, and now we get to
Yeah.
meet them in real life. So it's really going to be such a great experience. And every one of them has stepped forward, had these great ideas. And I like, hey, I'm a local. I'll take you around. I'll show you places. Let's make a day of it. And it's been so cool because it's kind of like the whole stone soup methodology. I've declared we're doing this worldwide trip. Violet and I have said these are the places we want to go. Now what's coming on is all of these incredible human beings volunteering to support us in some way. And it's just so amazing to see like how this whole community is coming together. It's beautiful.
Yeah. There will be a sense of making you grounded as well when you experience different culture. Especially, I told Bill earlier that you guys going to different Asian countries, especially Philippines. So there will be a huge, shocking experience, but people are very warm. This is one thing that I'm very proud as an Asian. So I'm looking forward for that experience for both of you. But then, of course, the time is ticking, and I know both of you are spending Sunday together, so I won't take much of your time together. But I'm super sure that there will be a lot of people super curious of how they can follow and support you in all of this journey, not only with your journey with this world travel project, but also supporting you on your speaking engagements, services, or offers. So where can they find you? Let's start with you, Violet.
Well, we do this every Sunday. So you can reach out to my dad's email. You can try to actually come on with us and ask us questions and talk to us. And if you want to physically be there, that's always been an option.
Yeah, just like Violet said. So billcarmody.com is where we
Mhm.
post our weekly videos and our blog. So both Violet and I get together every Sunday and we have a conversation just like this one. And then we
Yeah.
post it up onto our website. So the people, if they just want to view and watch, they can. If they
Mhm.
if you look at the map and you say, I live there, that would be fun. Let's get together. Then there's a let's meet in real life link that basically says,
Yeah.
hey, when would you like to get together? What would you like to do? And it basically gives us an opportunity to prioritize all the different options inside of our travel plans. And as long as we have the space and the time, we're going to say yes. So it's been really, really cool to be able to have all these incredible connections. And the other thing that I'll share is that so many people have come to rely on a lot of the work that I've been doing at Positive Intelligence. So when I'm gone, I'm not going to be at Positive Intelligence. So what we did is we created an artificial intelligence engine called AskBill.us. And I
Oh, there you
shared
go.
yeah, AskBill.us is basically my AI chatbot that basically answers all questions for coaches on how to build their coaching business. It's incredible. It's very different from ChatGPT because all it does is it specifically has my content around building your coaching business and shares you guidance around the same types of things that if you asked me a question in real life, it's like 90% accurate about what I would have said if it was really me. So it's not perfect, but it's really good. So for those people who don't have direct access to me, this is a great way to be able to have those virtual conversations. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That reminded me of the project that Marshall Goldsmith also has, that
Right.
he has this like chat GPT where everyone can just simply ask question and 90% or I don't know, the
Yeah.
accuracy of the information coming from him. And so Bill, Violet, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Your story is such an inspiring example for love without limits, embracing that courage, authenticity, family connection, and even adventure. I know our audience, including myself, have learned so much today on from both of your experiences and also very excited to following along on your world travel project. And so for everyone watching and listening today, if this conversation resonated with you or inspired someone you know in your life, please share this episode. Until next time, with yours truly, Cindy Marie, here to empower your life. Thank you so much, Bill and Violet.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this heartfelt conversation with Bill and Violet has inspired you to become more authentic and navigating life transitions with courage and deepening your relationship with the people you love. And this story reminds us of the power of love, resilience, and showing up our true selves every day. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share this with someone who might benefit from it. Follow our podcast and leave a review and help us grow to continue reach and empower more people's lives. Until next time, stay optimistic, stay curious, and keep embracing life's adventures. Believe in yourself. You've got what it takes to pursue your dreams and make a positive impact. Keep going, stay strong, and be unstoppable.